I think a lot of people freaked out about Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, guy who was, just anointed. He was going to come in. He was just going to light the world on fire. And of course, it never works out like that immediately. But when you look at Caleb Williams, he had a fantastic day against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the London game. 82.8 passing grade in this one, 87.9 overall offensive grade. Those were both the highest marks that we have seen yet through his young NFL career. And, when you look at how he has progressed throughout the season, from week 2 on, Seth, it's been a little bit better every time. The PFF grades, the passing grades, and the overall grades, they've just been going up very steadily till we got a fantastic performance against Jacksonville this past week. So when you look at the overall, just common statistical numbers, 23 for 29, 226 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, also had 56 rushing yards on 4 carries. There's some, I think, more nuanced stats that we'll get to as we kind of talk about Caleb Williams here, but his best day as a pro, what did we see from Caleb Williams? What did you like? What is he building off of and how he's getting better to what we saw this past week against the Jags?
I think the thing that he never got enough credit for in college was his play in rhythm, where people just saw that. It's the same as Mahomes, right? Like, people are just seeing, and Lamar and all the running quarterbacks, but it's like people just see those highlights of him, making a guy miss in the backfield, doing some crazy throw outside the pocket or running outside the pocket. But when he's on it in terms of throwing in rhythm, he's amazing at it. He's super accurate, and he's really good at it. He's always been really good at it. He just understands that his escapability is going to lead to bigger plays if there's nothing for him early in the play. And so we're seeing that get better and better each week. Now, it helps when your offensive line, remember him, like you said, in the Texans game, the offensive line was allowing clean pressure, right? This wasn't pressure that was happening after 2.5 seconds. This is pressure that was happening right at the snap. That's going to be tough for any quarterback, especially a quarterback in the second start. Now, the offensive line has played better. Now, given, the last 2 weeks have been against the Panthers and the Bengals. The Panthers and the Jaguars. So that is contextual there. But at the same time, if he's not feeling that quick pressure and he can, I don't like my first read, now I can move around in the pocket and I'm not already being harassed, you're going to see a lot of great plays. I don't think it's been perfect. I think there's been plays where he's missed. He's not seen open receivers. There's two kind of bad plays when the one he does throw an interception against Jacksonville, and then the one against Carolina, the first play of the game, he probably should have thrown pick 6. But other than that, it's been really clean. He throws the ball accurately, throws the ball hard. And like I said, when he's been in rhythm, the statistics kind of bear out how good he can be.
Yeah, it's really interesting just looking at the numbers, because when you look at the passing touchdowns and interceptions, he threw for 4 passing touchdowns in this one, just the 1 interception. It's 2 big-time throws and 1 turnover-worthy play that we haven't marked down for in this game. But specifically, the average depth of target was only 5.7 in this game, by far his lowest of his career in the NFL. So when you talk about the in-rhythm passing, sort of that quick game there from him, he was very comfortable doing that, those quick throws. And I wonder if they're kind of building that in a little bit to just allow him to know, hey, the game of football is not always about you saying hike in the shotgun and then holding on to it for so long. And this is a natural progression for him to get more quick game just in his DNA and sort of change how he views the game of hey, it doesn't need to be that big play every time. We need to dial up big plays. Yeah, you've got that escapability to you, but it's not something that has to be necessarily built into the game plan every single time that you hike the ball. You don't want to take anything away from him because he's a fantastic player, like you mentioned, especially when he's on the run. But I do think the offensive line playing better over the last 2 weeks. Okay, caliber competition, not great against the Carolina Panthers, but this past week against the Jags, not a terrible defensive line. You got Josh Hines-Allen. You got Trevor Walker coming off of his best game as a pro 2 weeks ago. So it's not like it was a terrible offensive line. It wasn't to Carolina's low standards, if you will. So the fact that Chicago's offensive line protected him better in London was great to see, because you mentioned it not being perfect. Something that I noticed from Caleb was it felt like just a tick late getting to that second read and third read, and it felt as though if the defensive line he was going up against was winning a little bit more quickly, a little bit more one-on-one. I think he kind of would have been in trouble more this past week. And the Jags just weren't really able to throw that at the Bears offensive line. So kudos to the Bears offensive line for playing well. And it allowed Caleb to, even though I felt like he was a little late getting from progression 2 to progression 3 to even then being like, okay, well, I got to just tuck this and run like we saw him do a couple of times that game. It allowed him to kind of go through this. And we saw great statistics from him because of that. And obviously we saw them get the win because of that. But that was sort of what I noticed. I liked the quicker game stuff, but it's still got to be faster for him when he is truly dropping back and scanning the field. And maybe that comes with recognizing things pre-snap a little bit better to be able to get things to post-snap a little bit quicker. But that was something that I still noticed from him is still a little bit slow in making that decision to, okay, I got to get off read number 2, got to see if read number 3 is there, or, okay, read number 2 is not available, let me tuck it and run it. It was just still a little bit slow for me when it came to like overall processing and what I want to see from him moving forward. So it was great to see him have a good game and still have things to work on, but that's something that I noticed from Caleb in particular in this game.
And that's where like he hasn't even hit even close to his ceiling yet. Because there's plays there where he's getting off his first read or second read, he's scanning his eyes backwards and he's not quite seeing it yet. And once you start seeing that stuff, it's over. Because he's so good at resetting his feet and throwing to guys on the move that it's the sky really is the limit. I mean, look, he was a first overall pick. He was my number 1 player in the draft. I'm pretty sure he was your number 1 player in the draft. So like it was a no-brainer thing. And you know, we're always going to do the thing, like we're in the media, we're always going to do the overreaction thing early in the season in either direction, right? We're doing it for Jaden Daniels in one direction. We did it for Caleb and probably some other quarterbacks in the other direction. So it's exciting. Like I said, I think there's still a lot to get better at. Now, my question for you is a little bit rhetorical. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to be like guys who know a lot about football. However,
supposed to be.
If you could, like, you don't have to answer this question, but I don't want to put you on the spot. If you could tell me what the Shane Waldron offense is, like thematically, could you answer? I can't.
It feels like it changes, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point that you bring up because it does feel like it changes. And I don't know if that's a Shane still trying to figure it out with Caleb thing, because I think that is fair context, right? Caleb's coming into the NFL from a Lincoln Riley system that is sort of hard to replicate with how vertical it always is and how it's either like horizontal stuff that's very quick and you're not really getting into a lot of like quick game passing concepts. It's more of just like this is a quick throw, or you're hanging on to it. We're getting very vertical. We're taking a shot deep down the field. It felt like there just wasn't a ton of in between with what he was doing with Lincoln Riley's offense. And then you go to the NFL and it just doesn't really work like that. It's not that it's not, you can't take that mindset into the NFL and have that success. So it is a really interesting question because we have seen Waldron's offense change a lot even over these 6 weeks with the Bears. But I'll throw it right back at you and say, like, are there things like, for example, 5.7 average depth of target this week. It's his lowest of his NFL career. His adjusted completion percentage in this game was 95.8%. Now, adjusted completion percentage means you're not only taking away drops, but you're also taking away like throwaways, like things where you're just kind of getting rid of the ball. On genuine passes, 95.8% of his passes were completed. There's, I think, one. It's got to be just like one incompletion that he had, and the rest of them were right on target. So clearly he was feeling very comfortable. So is there something that you have seen from Shane Waldron throughout this season where you go, okay, like it's been different, it's been hard to put your finger on, okay, this is the passing identity of this team, but is there something, a concept, a thought process, an overall philosophy that you wish that they would lean more into as the second half of the season kind of comes to here?
So, well, the first thing is that thing that DJ Moore said this past week, which was they didn't script, apparently the first 4 weeks of the season, they didn't script the first 15 plays, which I don't know, sure, like, this guy's an NFL OC, so sure, but I thought all NFL OCs scripted the first 15
That's also
plays.
what I thought, yes.
But And the numbers kind of bear out how bad they were in the first 15 plays. They're like bottom 5 or bottom 10 in the league in efficiency in the first 15 in the first 4 games, and now they're top. The last 2 weeks, they're top half of the league in efficiency in the first 15. So like that alone is going to get you going forward to start the game. But one of the things that I did notice, and again, like what is the Shane Waldron offense? I literally have no idea. Again, I'm supposed to be this guy who knows all this stuff. I have no idea what the Shane Waldron offense is. I think, looking at the Seahawks this year, and that's where Shane Waldron was last year, I'm like, there's a lot of like the Geno offense. Like Geno likes certain stuff, and that's what you're going to put in the offense. So then, even looking at that, like I'm like, well, I don't even know what that. So I still don't know what the Waldron offense is. However, something that I really liked the last 2 weeks is their use of getting into condensed formations, stacks, bunches, and just kind of throwing all their kind of basic pass concepts with a little twist at the line of scrimmage, which was, a switch release, guy coming underneath, one of these type of situations. It's not just like ISO ball all the time. It's not, and that's kind of what this Geno offense is. Geno loves to be super spread, empty. Right. I want to be able to see the field like that. And maybe that's not ever going to be Caleb's thing. Maybe he will eventually. But so what you have to do now is like create free releases for your players, create indecision by the defense in terms of, like I said, switch releases and condensed formations and little quick motions and stuff like that. And I thought they were awesome, like really, really good at doing that type of stuff, especially against the Jaguars, but also against the Panthers. And is there like thematically, is that enough to say like that's the Shane Waldron offense? I'm not sure, but that was really good and it got people open. And he's also like, he's going to be one of those guys who eventually is going to start hitting. I just talked about this, and you said it too, but he is going to be one of those guys who eventually, if it's not there on one side of the field, he's going to be able to move his eyes back to the backside and find those in-breaking routes, and they have a lot of those in the offense too. So I think it's been really good in terms of what they're doing in the drop-back passing game to get guys open. And are we getting too many Keenan Allen targets at his age? It's probably okay, to be honest. Like I know that's been kind of a talking point. If it's 3rd and 2, yeah, I probably want to go to Keenan Allen on a quick slant and get him the ball there. So yeah, I think it's been really good. Like I said, the quick stuff to get guys open and stuff that's going to disguise what their intent is. And when I say disguise, I don't necessarily mean play action. It can mean kind of disguising a pass concept via formation and bunch and stack. So I think that's been really, really good, and it's helped them move the ball a ton.
You said it sort of earlier when we were talking about it, like the media, the fans, we all tend to overreact when it comes to the beginning of the season, things like that. But progression, right? And I think that we're there with Caleb Williams. He's been getting better every single week. I think Waldron, over the last couple of weeks has now been very comfortable. I think when you look at the Chicago Bears and kind of like what is coming up for this team, who do they play next week? They're on a bye next week. Okay, so they're on a bye next week after the London game, and then they play, who's week 8? The Commanders. They're on the road. They play the Commanders. Okay, that's another team that, like, coverage for the Commanders, you should be able to get after this team. And so I'm very curious, does the offensive identity sort of stay the same as what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, like you mentioned, with getting guys in sort of different positions, certainly at wide receiver to sort of disguise what you're doing a little bit, hitting the quick game a little bit better, and are we continuing to speed up that process for Caleb Williams when they come back onto the field in week 8? So I think that certainly worth highlighting the best day that he has had yet and sort of the reasons for that. It looked very... Well, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say it looked like a non-Caleb Williams game because there were also some major big-time throws in this one. He had 2 big-time throws. I mean, the touchdown throw to Keenan Allen was just an absolute laser. I mean, that was beautiful. When a team is running and I'm pretty sure this is what it was, although I didn't go back and like just study it intently, but I'm pretty sure they were running like Tampa 2 at that sense, because the middle linebacker dropped immediately to take Keenan Allen as he was going up the middle of the field. You still had the two safeties. So in reality, the route from Keenan Allen was supposed to split the two safeties getting into the end zone, but then you had the Mike linebacker immediately dropping as well. So to put that football where he did for Keenan Allen to catch it in between two safeties and even beyond the reach of the linebacker and the lower level, like the middle zone at the second level from the other line. I mean, it's just a nuts throw. So we saw some really great moments from Caleb Williams, but do we get to see more of that? Okay, I'm very comfortable taking these things underneath. I'm letting my guys win. And you mentioned, all right, do you want Keenan Allen getting this many targets? 5 targets this past game. That was a team high. It was tied with Cole Kmet, but they were spreading the ball around a lot. Like DJ Moore was getting plenty of looks as well. The running backs were getting looks in the passing game. And so they were spreading the wealth. I thought it was very in rhythm, kind of how you started off this segment. Do we see that same in rhythm play after the bye week, after a lot of time off? That will be a telltale sign of sort of if he is hitting the ground running and can have a second half season like what we saw from Jordan Love or like what we saw from CJ Stroud. Guys like that will be very interesting to see.